Good morning, everyone, and welcome to News Extra. And our guest this morning is from the North Platte Natural Resources District. We have Scott Shaneman, who is the Water Resources Coordinator, and here to talk about a new advisory group, very important for people that have wells all throughout the district. Scott, explain what this nitrogen management group is going to be involved in.
Well, the basic task of this group is going to be to come up with effective and good solutions to combating elevated nitrate levels in our district. Little background, in 1993, the North Platte Natural Resource District Board of Directors instituted a groundwater management plan that was put in forth to combat nitrates along with other things that this district had been seeing problems with. In that management plan, as soon as our monitoring wells get to a level of 7.5 parts per million or greater, additional management actions are required. So in the past 40 years since we've been collecting data from those monitoring wells, we've seen nitrate levels increase over 7.5 parts per million in approximately 266 wells across this district. So the board has come to the point of trying to look at taking care of those nitrate levels, and this advisory panel is put together with stakeholders across this district to try to come with effective solutions to do that.
Yeah, and so the 266 wells that have the elevated nitrate levels, that's more than a third of the monitoring wells that are scattered throughout the district, that are, 5 counties that's part of the North Platte NRD. What are the concerns specifically? I can imagine with groundwater, people that have drinking water wells, livestock. What are the concerns with those elevated levels?
Well, other than health risks, there is elevated risk for blue baby syndrome. Nitrates are harmful to elderly, especially with compromised immune systems. Studies have shown increase in bladder cancer. There's a host of different things that health-wise that the community should be aware of and have a keen interest in trying to protect our groundwater. We do have a management area already established that encompasses the villages of Lisco, Oshkosh, and Llewellyn, where we've seen elevated nitrates in those areas, that we've been working with those folks and ag producers in that area presently combating those nitrate levels. And we've had some really good success in the majority of that area. We've seen nitrate levels drop at least 20 parts per million in some places. So,
and I can imagine there's also concerns, of course, groundwater not separate from surface water. Also some concerns with possible impacts on wildlife, fish,
absolutely.
Things like
that. It's not all about production agriculture. I mean, we all grow lawns and gardens and have runoff that enters our stormwater. That affects our streams and our water quality there as well.
Well, there is a deadline if you're interested in taking part in this group, and it has a specific composition. We're going to come right back and discuss that in just a moment. And we're back on News Extra this morning. My guest is Scott Shaneman, who's with the North Platte Natural Resources District, the Water Resources Coordinator. We're talking about the advisory group on nitrogen management, which is being formed right now as we speak. We had talked a little bit about some of the impact of elevated nitrate levels throughout the NRD district earlier. But this group itself has some deadlines as far as putting it together. What are we looking at for that, Scott?
So the deadline for applications for participants on the board is the 25th of January at the end of business on that day. The board will then take those applications and then select a panel that would then serve for the potential of six months, but no longer. So that's kind of how it will work. Applications, it really isn't really an application. It's just a short biography about yourself and maybe a sentence or two of why the interest of dealing with nitrates and providing input would be of an interest to you.
And how do they do that if they're interested?
So the easiest way is to probably just mail those applications to the North Platte NRD at P.O. Box 280, Scottsbluff, or drop them off at the office there south of the airport. It's the first building on the right when you come up the hill. And
there is a specific composition of this advisory group.
Exactly.
It ranges all across the spectrum, including urban and rural residents. Explain that a little bit.
So we're going to be the panel will be comprised of retail fertilizer sales representatives. Will be 2 individuals selected from that category. Agronomic consultants, 2 individuals. Leadership from municipalities, 1 individual from those municipal areas in our district. Parks, golf courses, recreation, 1 individual. Retail landscaping service representatives, for example, K-Lawn or escapes me, Nitrogreen or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah, an individual from there. Rural or urban residents, up to 5 residents. Rural residents could be farmers or people just living in the country, and of course urban residents are interested people, even though that they probably are getting their water out of a municipal water source.
And it looks like you're looking for 1 at least from each county in the district.
Exactly. And a representative from academia or natural resource professional.
So this panel will be impaneled starting up in February.
Right.
Run for approximately 6 months.
That's exactly right.
And hopefully take a look at the controls that are out there and maybe bring some things forward for the NRD to take some action on.
Exactly. The board will then take their input into advisement and go from there.
That's the Natural Resources District for the North Platte NRD.
Right.
The Nitrogen Management Advisory Group. It's just being put together right now, and if you are interested, you can drop off an application at the NRD offices no later than the 25th of January, and then the group starts up in February. Scott, thank you very much for joining us on News Extra today.
Thank you for having me.